Good to go. All right. It's 3:45 and I'm somebody that starts on time and ends on time. So welcome to a really exciting session with our partners at Ducks Unlimited. Really excited to hear from our guest speakers, Samantha Brewster and Jessica Needham. They are here to talk to us today about the free resources that are available for teachers that are not only online, but actually in person with visits and different things like that. And also talk about the conversation regarding the climate and how our youth are feeling regarding the climate and what's happening with our actual carbon footprint and all that good stuff. Because what we know right now is that students are struggling, not just with the conversation, but actually looking at what they can do to help the situation. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Samantha and Jessica. We also have our beautiful partner, Brendan McGuire from New Brunswick Parks, that's joining us. He may want to pipe in with a question or two or something to add, but certainly we have some beautiful experts around the table. So I'm so happy to welcome you from the Center of Excellence for Health. Again, my name is Deneen Diamond, and handing it over.
Great. Thanks so much, Deneen. And Brendan, feel free to chime in at any point that you need or want to there. I'll pull up our presentation here for us. Great. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to, as Deneen said, learn more about, Ducks Unlimited Canada's education team and the programs that we have to offer. My name is Jessica Needham. I am the Youth Advisory Council Coordinator with the National Education Team. So I work with a team of 10 youth all across Canada, trying to coordinate how we can better engage youth between the ages of 18 to 25 within our organization. But then I also help on the developing some of our educational resources and delivering some of those educational workshops as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samantha Brewster. I am an outreach specialist for Atlantic Canada. I am based out of our conservation center in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I'm going to talk a bit more about the center later on in the presentation, so I'm going to save that for now. But primarily, I take care of our in-person programming for New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. And one of the first things that I would like to do is land acknowledgement. This is something we've started incorporating into all of our programming. And this one has been designed to kind of encompass all of Atlantic Canada, especially when we do our virtual programs, we don't always necessarily know where people are tuning in from. Like, we know you guys are all New Brunswick, but this is one we like to use for all of Atlantic. So we recognize all First Peoples who are here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we can commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all. We would like to acknowledge that we are presenting this workshop from the ancestral homelands and unceded territory of the Wabanaki Confederacy, who are the people of the Dawn. This includes the Wolastoqey, Mi'kmaq, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot peoples. These territories fall within the peace and friendship treaties signed by these nations prior to 1779 and are recognized and affirmed in the existing rights of Indigenous peoples by the Canadian Constitution.
Great. Thanks, Sam. So if we're familiar with DUC and who we are, Ducks Unlimited Canada is a national nonprofit organization, and we were established back in 1938. And we use science to deliver our on-the-ground habitat conservation projects, our research, our education programs, and our public policy work to help conserve, restore, and manage wetlands. So our 4 core pillars that kind of make up what DUC is all about is our work through science, policy, conservation, and education. And here with the education team and the work that we do, we really work to strive to engage and empower individuals through meaningful learning opportunities. So that's why we are here chatting with you today. We really want to highlight some of our educational programming that we have available, specifically like what is unique to you in New Brunswick and what we have in terms of outdoor in-person education programming that Sam's going to talk about. As well as if you're unable to access those or you're looking for more, we also have a variety of workshops. So I'll be talking about those eco-anxiety workshops that Deneen had alluded to at the start. as well as our online virtual programming that we have and free online resources for educators and students as well. I might skip this one because I don't know if we have any teachers with us presently, but if you are watching and you want to get in touch, we'll put in ways that you can get in touch with us after. But I'm going to pass it back to Sam to do an introduction.
Yeah, and for this next one, Brendan, because you're here with us, you get to be our feedback chat interaction to make this work. So my first question is, what is a wetland?
Well, Sam, having been around Ducks Unlimited so much, I happen to know that it is land that is wet, that encompasses a lot of water.
You got it. It is land that is wet. So one of the questions I get asked a lot when we're doing programming is, what is a wetland? Why is it important? Why do we care? So we always start with what is a wetland, and just very simply, especially for the younger grades, is describe it as it is land that is wet. It is land that gets so completely saturated with water, it kind of fills up all those air spaces in the soil, and it creates kind of the bottom of that wetland. Something important to remember is traditionally wetlands are not very deep, usually
Might have lost Sam.
She does this even in person. She likes to build suspense.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, I'm getting dropped from the call. I was just about to text you, Des. So I'm not sure how much you missed there, so I don't know where to pick up from.
So where we got to was just the beginning of the description of what is a wetland, and you just where we lost off was just in terms of what was happening in terms of as soon as water takes up those oxygen spaces.
Yeah, so it kind of creates that basis of the wetland and creates kind of that space that holds the wetland in place. So something important to remember about wetlands is typically they're not very deep, usually about 18 inches to 3 feet. There's only one exception, and that is ponds. Ponds can have up to 10 feet of water. After that, it becomes a small lake, a river, a stream, the ocean, and those things are not wetlands. So this goes into our next question here, Brandon. What is some different kinds of wetlands?
Well, having been on a call with Ducks Unlimited this morning discussing all different kinds of wetlands and what we want to feature in the next few years around the province. So if I were to go, a salt marsh would be a great example of a wetland. And as you said, a pond, a bog, a lake, they're all various examples of them. And I know I'm missing one right now too.
Oh, I got to correct you that you said lake. Lakes are not wetlands. They are very big and the water's too deep, but you did good. You got a lot of them. So
I was
go
just
ahead,
about
Jessica.
to say, Brendan's a very good student.
Yeah, he's been amazing. And we had set this up to be interactive. So I'm glad there's someone to chat with us.
And I got to say, it's a little challenging for the fact that this is the first time in a year that Sam and I have met virtually, because every other time we've met outdoors and in person.
Yeah, which is fabulous. So here are 5 different types of wetlands that we typically talk about. So your top left is a salt marsh. Your middle is a swamp, your end is a freshwater marsh, then the bottom 2 on the left is a bog, and on the right is a pond. For higher level grades, we do sometimes talk about fens. Fens are very similar to bogs. And Brandon, do you know what the difference is between a fen and a bog? This is
Not
your
off the
high
top
level
of my
test.
head, I don't know.
Basically, the only difference is a source of water. So fens have a source of water, while bogs do not. They are completely self-contained. So they get their water from rain, snowmelt, runoff, and those sorts of things. And then this leads into our big question of why wetlands. So why does Ducks Unlimited Canada care about wetlands, and why do we want other people to care about wetlands? And that leads into a lot of goods and services that wetlands provide that we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about just now. And before we kind of get into that, the first one is water. The true percentage of water on Earth is 71%. And this kind of sounds like we have a bit of an unlimited supply, so why should we be concerned? Well, of that 71%, only 3% is actually fresh water. And that 3%, 70% of that is removed because it's frozen in glaciers, it's in the groundwater table, and it's not accessible to us. So only actually 1% of that whole total, if we're getting down to pretty small amounts here, is available for all the wildlife on the planet, all the plants, and about 7 billion people. So that big percentage has gotten down pretty small. One of the other goods and services that wetlands provide is climate solutions. So we've been doing a lot of research lately on the ability of wetlands to sequester carbon, which basically just means its ability to store carbon in the soil. And wetlands are very efficient, especially salt marshes, at capturing carbon and storing it in the system. And if those wetlands are left undisturbed, they can hold that in their soils basically indefinitely. So it makes them a very good place for that carbon storage.
We also know that there's a lot of benefits that come with being in the outdoors, and this goes hand in hand with our educational programming that we do. And so a lot of studies support that being in nature can improve our mental health, but also improve, how students and youth learn in these environments. And this kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of our educational programs that we have to offer. Connecting these benefits that we know that the outdoors can have on learning, education, and mental health. This is why we kind of want to talk to you and dive into some of the programs that we have to offer through DUC that kind of centers around, marrying these two ideas together and how they can help improve learning opportunities as well as the stewardship within conservation and, of course, wetlands. So these range from in-person outdoor education opportunities to online workshops about eco-anxiety and mental health, to as well as our virtual online learning programs for classes and free educational resources for educators. So I'm going to pass it off to Sam to first introduce you to opportunities that we have specifically unique to Fredericton, New Brunswick within our outdoor education programming.
So as I had mentioned in my introduction, I am based out of the Ducks Unlimited Conservation Center here in Fredericton, New Brunswick. We are an interpretation center. We are open Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. We highly encourage people to come over and visit us. If you're going to be bringing a class, I would suggest that you give us a call in advance so that we can ensure that you can come in and visit to the full extent of the capacity here. Because if we do have educational programs going on in the building, those areas would not be accessible at the time of your visit. So it's always good to give us a call. And here at the center, we have a full display room with a life-size Beaver Lodge replica, a nature lab where you can explore some things that we have there. You can sign out backpacks and go hiking on the trail. And then we have 2 outdoor classrooms. We have one down by the river, and then one just off our classroom, which is where we have a lot of our programming down here in the building. And very cool little critter dipping pond that we use for younger aged groups because it's a lot safer than some of the deeper water wetlands that we visit. So the pond here at the center is only maximum a foot deep. It's pretty shallow, so it's kind of fun. And the last picture here on the screen is our resident turtle. So here in the building, we have a turtle. His name is George, and he's one of our local celebrity for all of our programming. So you can go to the next slide, Jess. So all of our programming is divided into 2 categories. We have our formal education programs and our informal. So the formal education programs is the curriculum-tied programming for everybody from preschool right up through university. We also offer professional development for teachers. I do a lot of teaching teachers how to teach outside, and I do that through a joint program called Great Minds Think Outside, which is a subgroup under the New Brunswick Environmental Network. And then I also do professional development with Ducks Unlimited programming. So there's 2 ways to access getting teachers more comfortable with getting outside and getting their classes out doing fun stuff. We offer general public programs, drop-in events, workshops, and we also do a lot of work throughout the province. So I travel quite a bit to schools, to local wetlands, to make sure that we get everybody. And then lastly, we also have the Duck Days of Summer Nature Camp. It's been a very fun summer camp that we've been offering for the last about 5 years for youth age 6 to 12. So it's just a fun little opportunity to get more kids outside playing in wetlands. For the curriculum-tied programmings, we kind of set it up so that we have one individual program per grade because we get a lot of phone calls from teachers not quite sure what to do, and when we can match them up with something that's linked to their curriculum, it makes them very excited. So the list we have there is some of the things that we do for the different grades. So kindergarten is wetland senses, which is exploring wetlands using your senses. So touch, smell, looking, listening. We don't do taste for obvious reasons with kindergarten, especially out in wetlands. That could be a little iffy, so we don't do taste. We do the other 4. Grade 1, we explore wetland plants and animals. Grade 2 is life cycles. Grade 3 is soils through our Can You Dig It program. Grade 4 is a really fun mapping game. It's called the Wetland Floor Game. Grade 5 is the H2 Olympics, and classification of wetland animals for grade 6. The classification of wetland animals has also been incorporated to grade 9 and grade 11 and 12. We just do it at higher levels of classification depending on the grade there. The grade 7 wetland field trip, and then the grade 9 and 10 wetland field trip is a little bit different. It focuses on biotic and abiotic factors. For our general interest programs, this is often for day camps, daycares, Cub Scouts, guides, like all those kind of groups. And it kind of ranges in age and interest. We have programs about owls where we teach them about the common owls of New Brunswick. We dissect owl pellets, tracks and scat. We take kids out to teach them how to identify animals from the signs they leave behind. And I have a variety of rubber tracks and scat so they can be hands-on but not gross. It's a lot of fun. And then new this year, since 2022, we've been offering the Wetlands Work for Climate Be the Change presentation. And just before, yep, that's good. We can go there. I was going to say, if you call and give us enough time, we can generally come up with a program to meet your curriculum objectives. 2 to 3 months to make that happen, especially during our busy seasons, which is the end of the school year, April, May, June, and then the beginning in the fall. Like September, people kind of getting started, but October, November are very busy. But usually we can come up with something to help you get that curriculum check so that you can get your kids out of the classroom. So the Wetlands Work for Climate presentation that we've been doing is really focused on wetland conservation, what wetlands do to help in the fight against climate change, while incorporating traditional educational knowledge. I'm very proud to say we have a new role here in the Fredericton Centre. We have an outreach specialist of Indigenous engagement, and we have begun incorporating traditional educational knowledge into a lot of our programs through Valeen's role, which has been an absolutely phenomenal addition to what we're doing here. The Grade 4 Wetland Field Trip program is one of the biggest programs that I offer. In New Brunswick alone, we typically do anywhere from 175 to 190 classes. The beauty of this program is it is fully subsidized except for a small piece of the busing. So we offer a $100 busing subsidy, but if your busing ends up being over that $100, then that is the responsibility of the school. But that program has been very highly successful. We take classes out into their local wetland, and we have education delivery partners throughout the province, of which Brandon is one at the Mactaquac Provincial Park, to help us with the delivery of this program. Teachers receive an in-class resource kit, which comes on basically a flash drive with all your activities, lesson plans, posters, information, to kind of help you get prepared for your field trip. So we start registering classes right at the beginning of the school year in September. We register through till April, and then field trips are delivered in May and June. And at the end of the field trip, students get to go home with their very own wetland exploration kit, which is the kit pictured here on the slide. You get your Marsh World book, which talks about wetlands, why they're important, the animals and plants that you can find there, a little dip net so you can go back out with your family to catch bugs, a magnifier, and the Marsh Monster ID sheet, which helps you kind of identify your critters, and the how wetlands help you rack card. The beauty of all of our programs is that we do offer them bilingually. So everything we have is available in French and English. And if you are interested in learning more about any of our programs, the Grade 4 Wetland Field Trips, anything we offer, feel free to reach out to me. And I see we got a hand up.
Hi, Sam. I'm just so over the moon listening to this because as a teacher, I had really no idea that this was available at our fingertips. I know that most teachers should know, but that's why we're doing this. So I'm wondering, you went through a lot of information, a lot of different programming for different ages. Is there a spot that teachers can go to get this information?
Right now.
Regarding,
oh, sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. I think you're asking about the education program. So right now, it's not available anywhere like online. You pretty much have to call me and I help you pick a program and get you set up. What we have online right now is our educational resources, which we're going to talk about in a bit, and then the virtual online programs that you can book as well, which again are on a few slides further down. What I
Okay.
found was happening when I did have an education brochure at one point with a little bit of a sampling of what we had to offer. I found that when teachers were picking their own program, it didn't always fit their group and their needs. So I've kind of switched it up a little bit where they contact me. I ask them a few questions about their class dynamic, their number of students, and then I help pair them with a program that really meets what they're looking to do.
Perfect. I would love to help celebrate that on our website, exactly what you just said, where they contact you to kind of take their curriculum and put it into a program that you have available. Well,
Yeah, and I completely appreciate that teachers often are very busy and hard to get a minute out of the classroom to make a phone call. So I do try to make myself as available as I possibly can. And if I'm not available, I do have a lovely person in this building. Her name is Tiffany McCartney. She is one of our administrative assistants. She often helps me with bookings when I'm out in the field for 5 days at a time straight so that people don't have a really long wait time to get some information on our programs.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thanks so much, Sam. That was, yeah, as Sam said, that's all of our program, in-person and outdoor education programming that we have available out of our Fredericton Interpretive Center, as well as like for New Brunswick that Sam coordinates. But for those who might not be able to get, out of the classroom and are looking for opportunities to maybe still on like similar, learning topics, we do offer a range of, virtual programming and workshops too. The first being our series of climate change workshops, focused kind of more on that eco-anxiety side of things for both teachers and students. New workshops that we've developed over the past year or so here. One being for youth called Get a Grip on Climate Change. And another one for educators, which is Should I Say Something? Navigating Climate Change Conversations with Youth. And so why are we talking about this in the classroom? Well, we know, we have our climate change educational resources online, and we know that young people are hearing about climate change a lot on a daily basis, like it's impacting them day to day. They already know that this is an urgent issue and that it impacts their lives. But there's a lot of different ways we can feel about this and how we respond to this. And we want to be able to have these conversations in a responsible way in the classroom. And that's kind of where we develop these resources from. So we wanted to bring this into workshops for teachers and students to help students learn how, not only wetlands play a role in fighting climate change, but how they can work through maybe different emotions that they're feeling around climate change and how we can act together on this. So the youth workshop that we have, the Get a Grip on Climate Change workshop, is this interactive virtual workshop for students and classes. And we co-developed this with the psychiatrist based in Montreal, Dr. Inez Lopez, who helped us develop our resources that this workshop is, grounded around. And it's really best suited for students who are in grade 9s to 12, although we can talk about potentially adapting it for, grade 7 or 8 class as well too. And we are free for the first 5 classes who sign up, over this kind of winter semester. If you're interested, I do encourage you in signing up because I don't believe this is going to be a workshop that is always offered for free, but we do have some capacity to offer it for free in the first few rounds here. And some of our key learning outcomes in this is to really learn about the impacts of climate change, globally, but also to Canadians and in their own personal lives. Help youth learn how to recognize their own relations relating to or eco-anxiety. A real goal of this is trying to provide youth with tools that they need and coping strategies for managing emotions relating to climate anxiety and eco-anxiety, and then also provide students with the tools to find ways to stay motivated and to take action. So that's the goal of our youth-oriented workshops, where we come into your classroom and we kind of deliver this for your class and your students. So if you're interested in signing up, like I said, the first 5 classes who sign up, we could offer this for free. Or if you're just interested in learning more about the workshop or how we could offer this for your class, just send me an email. My contact information is on the slide here. And we can work together to coordinate, a day and time that best works for you, or just, chat more about what that workshop looks like and how maybe it could be useful for talking about and incorporating in your classroom. We also offer a version kind of more for professional development for educators. This is on navigating climate change conversations. And this workshop is really meant for educators and teachers to kind of help navigate these conversations in the classroom. Students identify their emotions that they might have related to climate change, as well as providing, coping strategies and an understanding of how to use, this coping strategies model and tool and resources that we've developed. So again, this is just using the same resources that we co-developed with Dr. Ines Lopez. And it's really just trying to give, empower educators to be able to feel comfortable with having these conversations with youth. How do we have these conversations with youth? And how do we help, youth identify how maybe they might be feeling about eco-anxiety, identify what their coping strategies might be, learn how to maybe change their thinking to more positive or helpful ways of thinking and finding ways to, again, feel motivated to take action. So these workshops are really, like I said, targeted for educators to learn how to use the resources that we've developed that are online for free. So you can access these through our education page. But it's just really there as a tool to help you learn how to facilitate these conversations and use these resources more effectively, especially when it can be a whole new realm that we're walking into on how do we start having these conversations, or how do we, support someone who might be feeling this way. So those are our two workshops, the main one being these youth-centered workshops that we have offered. And like I said, reach out if you want to learn more, you want to connect and maybe offer it and bring it into your classroom. Outside of these workshops, we also have other online virtual programs, which I'll pass it to Sam to talk about here.
Sure, thanks, Jess. I'm happy to talk about these. If for some reason I'm still having issues with the call just dropping, so if I drop, please feel free to just continue on and I won't say anything when I get back onto the call to see where we're at. So we have started an offering in 2020, and I'm sure you know what happened in 2020 and why this might have come online then. Where we have programming that we offer through our virtual studios. So we have two virtual studios here in Canada. We have one that's based out of Okemos in Manitoba, which is our head office, and we have the one here at the Fredericton Conservation Centre. So we are able to offer programming using green screen technology to bring wetlands straight into the classroom. They are a really fun, interactive way to get people engaged with wetlands when we're not able to actually take them out into a wetland. And the gentleman on the slide is Craig. He's one of our interpreters out in Okemos virtual programs. He's really fun and engaging. He's good at it. We are here too. These programs are again bilingual. It's offered for grades 1 through 12. We have the ability to kind of change the way we talk about things based on your grade level. So even though some of the concepts are the same, we talk about it a little bit more in depth if you're at a higher level, and we keep it very simple if you're at younger grades. We do this through really fun activities, and for some of the presentations, we send materials out in advance to really help with that engagement. Go down to the next slide, Jess, where we talk about the programs, because I think that'll make more sense. So here are the programs that we are currently offering. We have the Wetland Field Trip, which is the virtual version of that grade 4 Wetland Field Trip program that I had mentioned. So if you're not able to do that part of the program out in the wetland, we do it virtually through this presentation, and we can adapt that to any grade level because it's a very good what is a wetland, what wetlands do, why we care about them, and then it has some fun interactive animal ID at the end. The critter dipping is one of the activities that we do with dip nets, catching the aquatic invertebrates, the little bugs that live under the water. And we send out those marsh monster ID sheets in advance so that the kids can identify the little critters with us. The marsh walk, when you actually go to the online platform. So let's switch up down to the next slide, Jess, and go to that online platform. So I can kind of explain how that works. So when you go to our website, which is ducks.ca/education. It's going to bring you to our homepage. And then if you just scroll down a little pinch, the very first thing is online learning. You give that a click. And then as you scroll down the page, these presentations that were on the previous slide are right here. So the wetland field trip, the critter dipping, the OWL program, which I'll talk about in a second, and the Marsh Walk. So under those programs, there's a little link that says book this experience today. Doesn't matter which one you click, it all takes you to the same form. You enter your name, your email, your phone number, which province you're in, because as I said, this is a national kind of platform with OCAMIC and myself. So Quebec East automatically comes to me. So if anybody from New Brunswick is booking this program, you're going to end up with me. Quebec West goes to OCAMIC. So we share Quebec because there's only a couple of French interpreters. When I have summer students, they are bilingual, but through the winter, it's just myself. And then OCAMIC has a French interpreter as well. So we kind of share those French programs and for bilingual classes as well. So for the Marsh Walk, you can book the Boreal Marsh Walk, the Prairie Marsh Walk, and isn't there, maybe there isn't a third one. I thought there was, but maybe there's not. So you can kind of choose your region. There's a Western one as well, but maybe that's under a different a link. Because when you go to OCAMIC Marsh, they have one very particular to their walking trail there. And then the What's for Dinner virtual program. It's the OWL program that I mentioned earlier, but virtual. It's a lot of fun. We teach about the common owls of your region when you book it on the national platform. So depending on what province you're in, we have one that's kind of tailored to your region. And we teach about the owls, their calls. They have amazing adaptations that other animals do not have. And then we send along owl pellets. So you can dissect these little balls of fur that are filled with bones of what the animals have been eating. It sounds gross, but I promise you it's super fun. And one of the things we've not mentioned is cost, the price of these things. So all of our programs have a standard rate of $120 for about an hour and a half to 2 hour program, depending. The grade 4 program that I previously mentioned is subsidized. If you call me and book me for in-person programming, if you book me for half a day, it's $300, full days $400. And the only exception to the $120 rate is the OWL program because of the OWL pellets. So the program's $120, and then the pellets are $6 a pellet for the number of pellets that you would like to have. And then the wetlands are climate champions, and I'm going to let Jess speak to that one a little bit.
Yeah, so this is our newest online, virtual education program, and this one is related to our online education resources that are free for teachers to download if you'd like. But we can also deliver it live for you in the classroom. So you'd have an interpreter that you can work with and interact with, like live delivering this program. And this is really focused on wetlands as nature-based climate solutions and how they are champions in helping us, lessen the impact of climate change. But then we also begin to talk about, eco-anxiety and climate anxiety a little bit in this presentation. The way that this differs from the workshops is our workshops are a lot more focused specifically on climate anxiety, eco-anxiety, and how to manage those feelings, whereas this one just kind of starts to introduce ways that we might be feeling around it and ways that we can take action. So it's just an online presentation, which you can have that interpreter live with you in the classroom to deliver. And I guess this leads me to...
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think she was starting to ask about cost, Jess.
Oh, for that one, if there's the Wetland Champion is the same as our other online virtual program, so that one is $120 for the interpreter to be live in the classroom with you. But then this leads me to our educational resources that we have online for educators and for students to access. So if you're interested in exploring wetlands like ponds and marshes with your students, or you want to learn more about wetlands or wildlife through both indoor or outdoor activities, we do have, a range of award-winning education activities to help engage youth and help empower them to make a difference and to learn more about wetlands and to get them outside and to get them engaged. So I'll show you where you can find these activities online. But these are all free to download on our website under the DUC education page. So if you're looking for resources that can help get students outside more, or maybe plan some activities outdoors, these are kind of some of our core resources that we have available. So we have our, our Take Action to help inspire examples and step-by-step activities on what you can do outside with your students. We have our Wetlands in the World resource, which helps provide ways for exploring wetlands across different cultures. And we also have our field trip guide and our field notebooks that kind of go hand in hand to really help you and your students kind of plan a field trip outdoors and to kind of take on some hands-on learning opportunities. So these are guides to kind of help, engage your students and get outside that you can find and download to use. And in here we have additional resources within them to help, students plan a project, different ideas of wetland projects you could do, and then ways that you can help support your students take on those projects. And then also for more just kind of in the classroom activities, we have, or like learning resources, we have our Marsh World, which Sam kind of mentioned earlier that we have. So this is to really help learn more about those common plants and mammals and species that you would find in and around a wetland. We have our duck detectives, which helps to explore migration and the needs to protect habitats. And then we have our salt marshes resource to get a new understanding and knowledge of these unique kind of wetland habitats. And some more fun resources like our paper animals. You can create fun 3D art projects of different species you'd find around wetlands. And then the last, it's kind of tied into a few things that I've talked about, so that, online virtual wetland champions program, as well as our climate anxiety workshops are centered around these climate change resources that we have available. So these are the ones that were co-developed with Dr. Ines Lopez. And this is all about trying to bring climate change resources to students and teachers to help students learn how wetlands play a role in fighting climate change, how to work through emotions associated with climate change and eco-anxiety, and how we can take action together. So these are all available for free to download on our website. So if I bring this back up and I go back to our main duc.ca education page. So right from the top here, you'll see resources for educators that you can click on. And then if you go to educational resources, you'll find all of our resources listed here, where you can just select one that you're interested in, learn more about what it has to offer, and then there's options to download it. So you can download the student worksheet that you can use if this would be what you give to your students, but then also a detailed guide on, how to use it specifically for educators. So how you can use these resources in the classroom. So if you're interested, I know that's a lot of information we've given you. There's a lot there. There's a lot of different places to find it. But there's a few ways you can connect with us. One, we always want to hear from you. And a great way to share what you might already be doing with us is through our Wetlands Hero program. So, if your class is working on a really cool project, or of a student who's been taking action in some way, we really encourage you to kind of share those stories with us and nominate them to become a Wetland Hero. So this recognizes young people who are under the age of 25, who make a difference by taking action to conserve and protect Canada's wetlands. So they can be an individual, it can be your whole class or a school or a community youth club or group. And no project or action is too big or too small to be nominated for this. So all you have to do is go to our education page. There's a form there under Wetland Heroes, same where you'll find all of our educational resources and virtual programs. If you go back to this main page and you scroll down, there's a whole section for Wetland Heroes right here. And then you just fill out the nomination form there, and in return, an official certificate and letter from DUC that recognizes your accomplishments. Thanking your story will be shared, and then sometimes there's also some small financial awards for really exceptional projects that we can help support and give some seed funding for. Another way you can connect with us is if you're interested to book in-person activities. You've got Sam's contact information here. If you're interested in booking an eco-anxiety workshop with me, this is my contact information here, and we can chat more about that. And then if you just want to access all those other resources we were chatting about, so booking an online virtual program or downloading any of those free educational resources we have, this link will take you right to our main education page where you can find information. Other than that, that's all from myself. Sam, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today and to present to your teachers. It's very much appreciated. Love to get the information out there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sam and Jessica, for taking the time and doing this. I'm sure a lot of teachers and students are going to benefit from this super, super cool and awesome opportunity here in the province. And also, just want to say thanks to Brandon for being A+ interactive student person today. And we'll just let Deneen end the call, and we'll have this posted as soon as possible on our website.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
I'm so sorry.
Well, Leland,
That-
well, all in.
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but that was awesome. So great. I'm so sorry for the bad connection. I was going in and out and hopping off the call and back on. I promised I didn't want to do that, but
Exhibit A.
It happens. Yeah.
The only thing, Vi, you may want to check is if she was the leader recording the call,